Okay, so today we're doing a deep dive into something you flag as super interesting.
Yeah.
Stoicism.
Stoicism.
We've got your notes, some articles you've bookmarked, and it looks like you're aiming to get a solid grasp on how Stoicism can be applied to everyday life, not just like ancient Roman philosophy.
Exactly what's fascinating is that Stoicism, while thousands of years old, offers surprisingly practical tools for navigating modern challenges.
Yeah.
We'll uncover how these principles can help you manage stress, boost resilience, and even enhance your personal presence.
I'm already intrigued.
Okay.
One article mentions the power of keeping a smile on your face even when you don't feel like it. It claims it's not just about looking happy, but actually triggering some brain chemistry magic. Is
Yeah.
there any truth to that?
There's actually some science behind it.
Oh, wow.
But before we get ahead of ourselves,
Okay.
let's start with the fundamental principle of Stoicism.
Okay.
Making yourself a priority.
The empty cup analogy?
Yeah.
It's about recognizing that prioritizing yourself is essential for overall well-being and for better serving others.
Yes.
But honestly, isn't there a risk of self-care becoming self-indulgent?
Yeah,
Where's the line?
that's a great question.
Yeah.
Stoicism emphasizes balance.
Right.
It's not about neglecting responsibilities for endless pampering.
Right.
The source material suggests small, actionable steps, like brief morning routines,
Okay.
meditation journaling, even setting intentions for the day.
Uh-huh.
It's about cultivating self-awareness and mental clarity before tackling the world.
The source also mentions affirmations.
Yeah.
I used to think those were cheesy,
Mm-hmm.
but it claims they can actually rewire our brains.
Yeah,
Is there any validity to that?
absolutely.
Really?
When you repeat affirmations consistently, you're tapping into the power of neuroplasticity.
Okay.
Essentially, you're retraining your neural pathways, replacing negative self-talk with positive statements.
Interesting.
It's a cognitive behavioral therapy, but DIY.
So we're talking about more than just positive thinking.
Yes.
This is about actually changing the structure of our brains.
Precisely.
Yeah.
It's a fascinating example of how ancient wisdom intersects with modern science.
Right.
But it does require consistent effort.
Okay.
Think of it like building a muscle.
Mm-hmm.
The more you use it, the stronger it gets.
This brings us to another key Stoic principle,
Okay.
focusing on what's within our control.
Yeah.
I often feel like I'm at the mercy of external circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
How does Stoicism help with that?
Think of it like this.
Okay.
You're caught in a sudden downpour.
Mm-hmm.
You can't control the rain,
Okay.
but you can choose to open an umbrella.
Right.
Life is full of storms.
Yeah.
But Stoicism teaches us to focus on our reactions,
Okay.
not the events themselves.
Okay, I see the analogy.
Hmm.
So instead of getting drenched in frustration when things go wrong,
Yeah.
Stoicism encourages us to ask, what's within my power to change?
Exactly. We have power over our thoughts, actions, and attitudes.
Yeah.
Even when external events feel chaotic.
Right.
This doesn't mean suppressing emotions,
Okay.
but rather choosing how we respond.
Now here's where I get a little skeptical.
Okay.
The source material also talks about enhancing your appearance as a way to practice Stoicism.
Uh-huh.
Isn't that a bit superficial?
It's understandable to question that,
Yeah.
but the source connects this to self-respect and the principle of control.
All right.
It argues that consciously choosing how we present ourselves to the world can reflect an inner commitment to self-discipline and excellence, and even influence how we interact with others.
So it's more about aligning our outer presentation with our inner values,
Yes.
rather than chasing trends or seeking external validation.
Precisely. Think of it as a subtle form of virtue signaling,
Interesting.
not through flashy displays, but through thoughtful choices.
Right.
It's about recognizing that how we treat ourselves, even in seemingly small ways,
Yeah.
can have a ripple effect on our thoughts and actions.
So even something as simple as choosing clothes that make you feel confident could be considered a Stoic practice.
Absolutely.
Wow.
It's about those small, deliberate actions that reinforce a sense of self-respect and control.
Yeah.
Of course, this doesn't mean obsessing over every detail.
Right.
The key is finding a balance that works for you.
Speaking of balance,
Yeah.
the source also emphasizes the importance of setting boundaries. I'm definitely guilty of overcommitting and spreading myself too thin.
Yeah.
How does Stoicism approach boundaries?
The source is very clear.
Okay.
Boundaries are crucial for protecting your peacetime and energy.
Right.
It argues that saying no isn't selfish.
Okay.
It's an act of self-respect.
I can already hear our listener nodding along to that.
Yeah.
But what about that feeling of guilt or the pressure to please others?
Stoicism acknowledges that those feelings are natural, but it encourages us to recognize that we can't pour from an empty cup.
Right.
By setting clear limits and communicating them effectively.
Yeah.
We're actually better equipped to help others in the long run.
So it's not about becoming uncaring or isolated.
Yeah.
It's about prioritizing our well-being.
Yes.
So we can show up more fully for ourselves and the people who matter most.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that true strength comes from a place of wholeness.
Right.
Not from constantly pushing ourselves to the point of exhaustion.
Now, even with strong boundaries, life is still going to throw stressful situations our way.
Yeah.
The source mentions breath work as a way to stay calm amidst the chaos.
Right.
I've heard of things like box breathing, but is that really rooted in Stoicism?
It might seem surprising,
Okay.
but techniques like the 4-count breathing method, inhaling for 4 counts, holding for 4, exhaling for 4, align perfectly with a Stoic emphasis on self-control and mindfulness.
Interesting.
It's a simple, accessible way to interrupt the stress response and regain a sense of calm.
You know, I've tried that before and it really works.
Oh.
But sometimes it feels like my anxieties are bigger than just a few breaths. What about those times when everything feels truly overwhelming?
The source emphasizes the importance of perspective.
Okay.
It poses a powerful question.
Okay.
Will this matter in 5 years? By zooming out and considering the bigger picture, we can often diffuse those stressful feelings.
Yeah.
And realize that many of our worries are temporary.
That's such a helpful reminder.
Yeah.
It's so easy to get caught up in the moment and lose sight of what truly matters.
Right.
Speaking of perspective,
Yeah.
the source also suggests that keeping a smile on your face even when you don't feel like it can actually have a positive impact on our mood.
That's right.
Okay.
As we discussed earlier, there's a growing body of research that supports this idea. When we smile, our brains release endorphins,
Okay.
which are natural mood boosters,
So it really is like a brain chemistry thing.
like a little self-induced dose of happiness.
Okay, I'm starting to understand the brain chemistry magic you mentioned earlier, but
Yeah, I
I'm
know.
curious.
Okay.
Does this go beyond just tricking ourselves into feeling better? Does it have a social impact as well?
Absolutely.
Really?
Smiles are contagious.
Oh, okay.
When we smile at someone, they're more likely to smile back.
Yeah.
It's a simple gesture that can create a ripple effect of positivity,
Right.
fostering connection and easing tension.
It's interesting how something so small can make a big difference.
It's a powerful reminder that even small actions can have a big impact on the world around us.
This makes me think about the idea of kindness, which the source also links to Stoicism.
Yes.
But how does Stoicism reconcile kindness with
Right.
the need for boundaries that we discussed earlier?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And it gets to the heart of the Stoic approach to virtue.
Okay.
It's about finding that balance between compassion and strength, between offering support and protecting our own well-being.
So it's not about becoming callous or indifferent to others' needs. It's about recognizing that true kindness comes from a place of wholeness,
Yes.
not from constantly depleting ourselves.
Precisely. Stoicism teaches us to be kind and compassionate,
Right.
but also to recognize our own limits.
Okay.
It encourages us to ask ourselves,
Yeah.
how can I be helpful without sacrificing my own peace of mind?
This raises an interesting question for you, listener. How do you navigate kindness in situations where someone might be taking advantage? It's a delicate balance, but remember,
Yeah.
as we've discussed, you have the right to protect your energy and well-being.
Right.
It's important to prioritize yourself as well.
Absolutely.
Welcome back to our deep dive into Stoicism.
Okay.
As we've been unpacking these principles, I've been thinking about how they apply to specific areas of life, for instance, work.
Yeah.
The source material definitely touches on that.
It does, and for many, it's where stress and pressure really build up.
Yeah.
Stoicism reminds us we might not control deadlines set by others,
Yeah.
but we can control our time management, organization, and approach to tasks.
Right, like staying calm under pressure.
Exactly.
That's huge in any workplace.
It is.
But what about when things get really intense? Does Stoicism really help with, say, a looming deadline or a difficult boss?
Remember the 4-count breathing technique?
Yeah.
It aligns perfectly with Stoic principles of self-control and mindfulness.
Okay.
Even a few moments of focused breathing can disrupt the stress response.
Right.
It's about recognizing that even amidst chaos,
Yeah.
we have the power to choose our response.
And what about boundaries, which we discussed earlier? I imagine those are even more crucial in a work setting.
Yes.
Where it's easy to get overloaded.
Absolutely. Stoicism encourages us to recognize that saying no isn't selfish.
Right.
It's an act of self-respect.
Yeah.
It's about setting clear expectations and protecting our time and energy so we can show up fully for the tasks that truly matter.
You know, even that seemingly superficial point about enhancing appearance, it could play a role in a professional setting, couldn't it?
It could. Remember, it's not about vanity,
Right.
but aligning our outer presentation with our inner values.
Yeah.
In a work setting, this translates to presenting ourselves in a way that reflects professionalism and confidence, which can have a positive impact on how others perceive us and how we navigate challenging situations.
Okay. I'm seeing how these seemingly disparate principles are starting to connect.
Yeah.
But work is just one part of life. What about relationships? Does Stoicism have anything to say about how we build and maintain connections with others?
It absolutely does.
Okay.
First and foremost, Stoicism emphasizes kindness and compassion,
Okay.
but always in balance with boundaries.
Right.
It's about being there for others,
Yeah.
while also recognizing that we can't pour from an empty cup. We need to take care of ourselves to truly show up for others.
So it's not about becoming detached or unemotional.
No.
It's about finding that sweet spot between giving and receiving,
Yes.
between supporting others and preserving our own well-being.
Exactly.
Okay.
And Stoicism also reminds us to focus on what we can control in our relationships.
Right.
We can't control how others behave,
Right.
but we can control our reactions and responses.
So instead of getting caught up in trying to change someone else, we focus on our own thoughts, actions, and attitudes.
Precisely.
Yeah.
This can be incredibly liberating.
Right.
It allows us to let go of resentment and approach our interactions with more clarity and compassion.
Okay.
And remember that Stoic emphasis on humor.
Yeah,
It can play a crucial role in relationships as well.
I can see that. Laughter can diffuse tension,
Yeah.
create connection, and remind us not to take things too seriously, especially during those inevitable disagreements.
Exactly. It's about finding lightness amidst the inevitable challenges of human connection.
Right.
Speaking of challenges,
Yes.
Stoicism also offers valuable tools for dealing with setbacks and failures, which are inevitable in any relationship.
Because let's face it,
Yeah.
no relationship is perfect.
Right.
We all experience disappointments and conflicts. How does Stoicism help us navigate those rough waters?
Stoicism reminds us that setbacks are an inherent part of life,
Okay.
including our relationships.
Right.
Instead of viewing them as personal failures, we can choose to see them as opportunities for growth and learning.
So it's about reframing those negative experiences
Yeah.
and finding the lessons within them, even when it's painful.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And remember that core principle of focusing on what we can control. We might not be able to control the outcome of a situation,
Right?
but we can control our response to it.
This resonates with me.
Yeah.
I know I've spent way too much time dwelling on what went wrong, instead of asking, what can I learn from this?
It's a common human tendency,
Yeah.
but Stoicism encourages us to shift our focus from what we can't change
Okay.
to what we can.
Right.
This allows us to bounce back from setbacks with resilience and a renewed sense of purpose.
You know, as we talk about this, I'm
Yeah.
remembering that concept of making your stand, having the courage to stand up for your beliefs even when it's unpopular.
Right.
I'm wondering how that applies to relationships.
Okay.
It seems like it could lead to conflict.
It certainly could. But Stoicism isn't about being needlessly confrontational.
Okay.
It's about having the integrity to live in accordance with our values, even in our closest relationships.
So it's about discerning when to speak up
Yes.
and when to let things go, about finding that balance between authenticity and preserving harmony.
Exactly.
Okay.
Sometimes the most powerful stand we can take is simply to live in alignment with our values.
Right. Quietly and consistently letting our actions speak louder than words.
This raises an interesting question for our listener. Have you ever faced a situation in a relationship
Yeah.
where you had to make a difficult choice between staying silent or speaking your truth? What guided your decision?
Yeah.
It's something to ponder.
It is. And it reminds us that Stoicism is a deeply personal journey.
Right.
It's about finding what works for us as individuals while staying true to those core principles of virtue reason and living in harmony with nature.
Speaking of nature,
Yeah.
I've noticed that the source material doesn't really talk about spirituality or religion.
Okay.
Does Stoicism conflict with those beliefs?
Uh-huh.
Can someone be, say, a Christian or a Buddhist and also practice Stoicism?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
Stoicism itself isn't a religion or a spiritual practice in the traditional sense.
Okay.
It's a philosophy that focuses on living a virtuous life, guided by reason, and an understanding of the natural order.
But this doesn't mean it's incompatible with religious beliefs.
So it's more like a framework for living.
Yes.
That can be integrated into various belief systems.
Exactly. In fact, many people find that Stoicism complements their existing beliefs and practices.
Oh, interesting.
It can be a way of deepening one's faith or spirituality
Right.
by providing practical tools for living a more ethical and meaningful life.
So for our listener, if you're wondering how Stoicism fits into your own spiritual or religious framework,
Yeah.
know that it can be a source of enrichment and support
Mm-hmm.
rather than a contradiction.
It's about finding those points of connection.
Right.
And allowing the wisdom of Stoicism to enhance your existing beliefs and practices.
As we wrap up this part of our deep dive,
Okay.
I want to touch on something we mentioned earlier. The idea that Stoicism can help us find peace and tranquility amidst the chaos of modern life.
Right.
Is that really possible?
Stoicism recognizes that the world is often unpredictable and beyond our control. But it also reminds us that we do have control over our thoughts, actions, and attitudes.
Right.
By focusing on what we can influence.
Okay.
We cultivate a sense of inner peace that isn't dependent on external circumstances.
So it's not about becoming indifferent or detached from the world. It's about finding a place of stillness within ourselves.
Exactly.
Okay.
Even when things around us feel turbulent.
It's about cultivating a mindset
Yes.
that allows us to navigate challenges with grace and resilience, knowing that we have the inner resources to weather any storm. This resonates so deeply with me. I'm starting to understand how Stoicism can be a path to not just surviving, but thriving in the face of whatever life throws our way.
It's about recognizing that true strength comes not from controlling the uncontrollable, but from mastering ourselves.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground in this second part of our exploration.
Yeah.
We've delved into how Stoicism can be applied to work relationships, setbacks, and even our spiritual lives.
We've seen how seemingly simple principles, like focusing on what we can control, practicing kindness with boundaries, and cultivating a sense of humor can have a profound impact on how we navigate the world.
And we've touched on the transformative power of Stoicism to help us find peace and meaning, even in the midst of life's inevitable challenges. But there's still more to explore. Welcome back to our deep dive into Stoicism.
Back again.
We've been exploring these ancient principles and how they can help us navigate the complexities of modern life. But there's one concept I'm still grappling with, the idea of acceptance. It seems paradoxical. We've talked about strength, resilience, taking control. Yet Stoicism also emphasizes accepting what we can't change. How do those two ideas coexist?
It's a fascinating tension, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it gets to the heart of what Stoicism is really about. Acceptance in the Stoic sense isn't about passivity or resignation. It's about recognizing that there are forces in the universe beyond our control. Things we can't change no matter how hard we try.
So it's about acknowledging those things. Rather than fighting a losing battle.
Exactly. It's about surrendering to what is, but not in a defeatist way. It's about recognizing that even in the face of hardship, we always have a choice to rail against the inevitable or to find a way to move forward with grace and acceptance.
This makes me think about those times when I've clung so tightly to how I wished things were that I've missed opportunities to learn and grow from challenging situations.
It's a common human experience.
It is.
But Stoicism encourages us to shift our perspective. To ask ourselves, what can I learn from this? Instead of, why is this happening to me?
So it's about finding the opportunity for growth. Even in the midst of difficult circumstances.
Precisely. It's about recognizing that even in those moments that feel like setbacks, there's often a hidden lesson. Or a chance to develop resilience. And sometimes acceptance simply means allowing ourselves to feel our emotions fully. Without judgment.
This reminds me of something we discussed earlier,
Yeah.
the Stoic idea of not suppressing emotions,
Yes.
but rather understanding and choosing how we respond to them.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that emotions, even the difficult ones,
Yeah,
are a natural part of the human experience.
right.
It's what we do with those emotions that matters.
Okay.
And from that place of acceptance, we can then choose to focus our energy on what we can control.
Right.
Our actions, our thoughts, and our attitudes.
Okay, I'm starting to see how this all ties together.
Yeah.
Acceptance isn't about giving up.
Yeah.
It's about finding a place of inner peace and strength, even when life throws us curveballs.
Beautifully put. It's about recognizing that true strength comes not from resisting the inevitable, but from finding a way to move forward with clarity and purpose,
Yeah.
even amidst uncertainty.
As we wrap up our deep dive into Stoicism,
Okay.
I'm struck by how interconnected these principles are. They all seem to weave together to create a tapestry of wisdom and resilience.
They do. It's like a beautifully crafted mosaic,
Right.
with each piece representing a different aspect of living a meaningful and fulfilling life.
And what's amazing is that this ancient philosophy developed thousands of years ago is still so relevant today. It speaks to something fundamental about the human condition.
Yeah.
Our search for meaning, our longing for connection,
Right.
and our desire to live with purpose and intention.
It's really inspiring. And what I appreciate is that Stoicism isn't about rigid rules or dogma.
Right.
It's a philosophy that invites us to continuously learn, grow, and adapt.
It's a journey of self-discovery and transformation.
It is. And it's a journey that's available to anyone, regardless of their background or beliefs.
Right.
Stoicism offers a set of tools and principles that can help us navigate the complexities of life with more clarity, courage, and compassion.
So listeners, we come to the end of our deep dive.
Okay?
We invite you to reflect on what we've explored.
Yeah.
Which of these Stoic principles resonates most with you? Which one might you want to experiment with this week? Remember, it's about progress, not perfection.
Right.
It's about taking small steps day by day to cultivate a more stoic way of being.
And remember the words of Marcus Aurelius,
Oh, yeah.
one of the most famous Stoic philosophers.
Okay.
The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts.
That's a good one.
Stoicism reminds us that we have the power to choose our thoughts,
Yeah.
and in doing so, to shape our experience of the world.
It's a powerful reminder that true happiness and fulfillment come not from external circumstances,
Right.
but from within ourselves.
Exactly.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Stoicism.
It's been a pleasure.
We hope you found it insightful and empowering. Let us know what you discover. And if you have any other deep dives you'd like us to take on, we're all ears.